Tucked into the hillside of the Lawrenceville neighborhood of Pittsburgh, just miles up the Allegheny River from downtown, lies one of the city's most historic sports venues, St. Mary's Lyceum. The nearly 100-year-old Catholic school gymnasium has hosted thousands of basketball games and other sporting events. Over the years, this building has become a stronghold of the neighborhood, a community holding on to something that goes far beyond the basketball court. Constructed in 1913, the Lyceum was built as part of St. Mary's Parish and School. The gym has been called home to several different school and parish teams, as well as the site for many different tournaments and other events. If you grew up playing Catholic grade school basketball in Pittsburgh, you probably at one time have played at the Lyceum. But this small, old piece of history is not your run-of-the-mill basketball court.
And everybody remembers this place was unique, probably one of the craziest places to play. Most courts are cookie cutter, where they have the bleachers on the side with the court. This place has the balcony surrounded it. The referees always said this is probably the toughest place to referee because the fans are on top of you, and they can see everything that's called on the court, even though you may not see it.
Modern day basketball collides with old school teachings. I mean, you walk in here and there's an aura about this place. You know, I try and tell people that aren't in here, there's a balcony overlooking the floor. Like, what are you talking like a YMCA? People walk around the top? I said, no. I said, you sit up here and actually you sit in church pews and watch the games.
When we played Lawrenceville Catholic here, which was a Catholic high school, a Class A high school, we played high school ball. They would jam 600-700 people in here. And we very seldom lost down at this place. And the high school teams very seldom lost. It's just a tough place, and it's a smaller court, but that's all most courts were in those days when they first built this place. You didn't have the huge courts like they have today.
The first time they come in here, they're sort of, you got to take them out onto the court and have them look up. And I remember playing here in this place, being packed with people. There was no better feeling. I mean, it was just awesome. The fans are on the court with you. It's just a fantastic place to play basketball.
But it's a tough place to play, and people remember it because of it's unique. Nothing's built like this place.
When it comes to players who have showcased their talents at the Lyceum, this structure has quite the impressive resume.
Danny Marino played down here. Tommy Clements, who's the quarterbacks coach for the Green Bay Packers, also the head coach for the Green Bay Packers, played here. Played for St. Rosalia.
Some other players include former Duke basketball player and Pittsburgh Pirate Dick Grote, former Pittsburgh Panther guard Yuri Dimitris, former Penn State quarterback Anthony Morelli, Charlotte Bobcats guard Matt Carroll, and actor Michael Keaton. However, basketball was not the only sport played at the Lyceum.
When they built this place in 1913, there was 4 bowling alleys, so they had bowling here. They had boxing, and this is a perfect place for a boxing venue. They put boxing and wrestling both, but boxing, a lot of boxing. They had their own boxing team here at St. Mary's in the 30s when Pittsburgh was probably the capital of boxing in the world. At one time they had 3 world champions and almost had a 4th. If Billy Conn would have beat Joe Louis, it would have been a 4th. But Fritzie Zivit, who held 3 titles at the same time, boxed here a number of times.
The Lyceum was also used for studio wrestling.
Also, in wrestling, they had Bruno Sammartino and a number of the Batman, George Animal Steel. They all wrestled here at one time when they had wrestling, which is a little more of a crazier crowd.
The Lyceum has long been a place for the people of Lawrenceville to come together to enjoy the festivities at the venue. Behind any place of history lies a long line of volunteers keeping the tradition going over the years. The main person responsible for that in the present day is Mickey McGrain.
Unsolicited athletic director for St. Mary's. It used to be St. Mary's. We still call it St. Mary's for Our Lady of the Angels. And I basically coordinate everything up here as far as the upstairs of the Lyceum is concerned for basketball and any type of thing that's going on up here. Mainly basketball all the way from November to the end of March.
Mickey is Lawrenceville. I mean, if you know Lawrenceville, you know Mickey. You know Mickey runs all the sports leagues, basketball, football, just everything in Lawrenceville. He has his hand in it. He's the one that gives back everything that he has.
Oh God, long after Mickey's gone, his ghost's going to be walking around here. Him, his father, I mean, they built this place, and everybody sort of fell into place around them, but they were the ones that always took the lead and just always there for the kids. And Mickey, even not just in this Lyceum, but our Ninth Ward Youth Association, everything as a whole, he's just a part of everything, and he gives all his time to the kids, and I can't say enough about him.
McGrain's ties to the Lyceum and Lawrenceville run in his genes. His father, John Baldy McGrain, was Mickey's predecessor as athletic director at the Lyceum.
Mickey took after him, actually. He was the one that was always at the games, always greeting you at the door. When I was younger, I mean, I would always see him at all the games, especially at the baseball fields. He ran everything as the sports, and Mickey really took that over.
The McGrain family in general they're a huge part of Ninth Ward through baseball, softball, flag football. This Lyceum should be named after them. They've just given so much time, so much over the years. I mean, and Mickey has never had kids, so, I mean, he does this for everybody else's kids.
His father really started a lot of those programs, and so it was integral to the McGrain family that over many years they've been running sports programs out of there and have done a great job with it. And that's one of the things that really has helped to keep the place vital.
McGrain is also the commissioner of the local baseball league. The field where Ninth Ward Baseball Association calls home is named after his father. The Lyceum is where the McGrain family got its start. Mickey's parents actually met at the gymnasium during a community dance.
And my dad was a DJ. My dad also was a DJ. He used to position himself up at the corner up here when they had the dances. They would bring some bands in, some big bands or whatever. And that's how my mom met my father at this place here. My dad, we have a tournament starting here. It's a Christmas tournament. It's been going on for 55 years. This is our 55th year coming up. One time we had 93 schools, all Catholic schools. And since I've been a little kid, the first thing I remember is being either here at the Lyceum or down at the field with my dad. There was 8 of us in our family. I was the one that followed after my father. And the first thing I remember in life is being at the Lyceum. It was like my second home.
For the McGrain family and the tight-knit community of Lawrenceville, 2 things were a common bond for the neighborhood: sports and faith. Being a Catholic school gymnasium, these ideas were apparent in St. Mary's Lyceum. Since the mid-1800s, Lawrenceville was a community with a strong Catholic presence. Over the years, that changed drastically, as 5 of 6 churches in the neighborhood closed between 1993 and 2012. In 2008, Our Lady of the Angels, the parish associated with the Lyceum, shrunk from a 4-church unit to just 1 building in St. Augustine's Church. Jim Wodarczyk of the Lawrenceville Historical Society says several factors went into these closings.
1, a large number of people migrated from the cities into the suburbs. So Lawrenceville, that 1900, when it had 33,000 people at its peak, today has about 92 or 9,300 people. So you've lost approximately 3/4 of your population.
Obviously, the people of Lawrenceville were not happy with the closings, but with an apparent drop in church attendance and finances, there was nothing they could do.
Anytime there's a church or school closing, there's hostility to the idea. You can justify it all you want, but in the minds of the people, this is where the churches were. They married, their parents were buried from, they made all their sacraments. So it's very close to their hearts, even though they can't afford to continue to support churches. There's this emotional attachment to the facility.
In 2010, the Catholic presence of Lawrenceville still continued on, with St. Augustine's Church, St. John Newman School, and St. Mary's Lyceum. But unfortunately, the closings did not stop with the churches. That same year, the Diocese of Pittsburgh announced that St. John Newman School, the lone Catholic school in Lawrenceville, would close at the end of the school year due to a lack of finances and enrollment. The school used St. Mary's Lyceum for home basketball games and other school activities. When the school closed, parents like Dawn and Bob Narr, teachers, and other members of the Lawrenceville neighborhood lost a vital piece of their community.
I cried a lot. It was a great school. I'm sorry. I had 3 kids that went there, fantastic teachers. It was the only school left in our community. It's heartbreaking. That's about it.
I believe me and my wife and all 3 of my kids sat in the living room and cried. I mean, it was absolutely devastating. That's the only word I can use to describe it.
They were losing losing their community pretty much, where all their kids went. That's where you always sent your kids. And after losing that, they didn't know what to do.
We were never in debt in all the years we were open. And it was 21 years. We were finished in the black every year. We had $151,000 we raised for the school year for the following year already in place. And they were trying to merge us with Immaculate Conception up in Bloomfield. Immaculate Conception didn't want the merger. We didn't want the merger. They were in debt. We weren't. And what they ended up doing, they told us in February of that year we were going to be open for another 5 years. Holy Spirit had closed over in Millville. A lot of those people come over here and registered for the following year. In late March, they called our principal and said, we're closing you. And we basically had no say-so in it. They froze everything, all the assets.
You know, there's still, I walk past that school and I'm like, man, I can't believe it. You walk by and there's overgrowth of trees and it's up for sale, and you're just, you know, the sign still sits on the front of the school that says St. John Newman, building the community one child at a time, and you're like, oh, man, I can't believe it's gone still, you know.
The school, you always lose something when you lose a school, and the presence of a number of the young people and younger families tend to come more to the school sometimes than to the parish, but to come, you know, because of the school.
With the closings of the school and the churches in the area, the Catholic identity of the community of Lawrenceville was slowly fading.
I actually quit going to church. I pulled my 3 kids out of Catholic school. I didn't feel it was right that, I mean, my husband and I we struggled every year to pay tuition for 3 kids. I mean, it's expensive. You know, you don't get a lot of help.
Every church in this area was centrally located for the elderly, and it was primarily a stronghold for the elderly and Catholicism, and they just stopped passing it down as a result. And there's a lot of bitterness, and, you know, there's not a strong teaching anymore around here. It really isn't.
And we sort of lost our identity as a school. And it's a shame, because we've had Catholic schools in this area since 1881. That's when this school started at St. Mary's, and the churches since 1848, and they've closed everything.
Without a school or church to support the Lyceum, the future of the gym was in question. A centerpiece of the community, standing alone.
With the Catholic school is also the people that we're associated with, like especially this gym that we're sitting in. I mean, the coaches and the mentors that I experienced as a kid coming up, it just makes the community 100% better. I mean, it's just a real tight-knit family. Like I said, the mentors that I had growing up are still around, and they sort of fostered me into the coaching transition.
These same mentors that influenced NAR, like Mickey McGrain, had the same effect on one young local resident who in 2009 did something that may have saved the Lyceum from closing along with the school. Andrew Chakowski, a lifetime resident of Lawrenceville, decided to restore the gym he grew up playing in as part of his project to become an Eagle Scout.
Over the years, I saw it start to deteriorate a little bit, and compared to other gyms that were a lot newer, we weren't keeping up with that. And I wanted to give back to the kids that were in the programs then, to have a place that they could call home and a gym that they could be proud of.
Andrew came, and his dad came to me about a year before they did that and said he needed a project for to become the Eagle Scout. And we figured that's a nice way, and they said they would get everything donated, and they had an ad book. His dad formed an ad booklet to have it done. I was all for it, because I figured it's a good way to get every year after the season was over, it takes a beating from all the games we have up here, so we have to redo all that ourselves. Don't get a whole lot of help from the parish.
Well, the stipulations of the Eagle Scout project is to give back to your community. And I thought, what better way to do it to a place that I spent most of my time, which was St. Mary's Lyceum.
I could never thank them enough, because they did things we could never do with the small number of volunteers we had here at the time, and we're grateful to those guys.
Now a senior at Kent State University, Chakowski says repairing the Lyceum still means a great deal to him.
It meant so much, and it still does today. Just seeing how it's changed, and that I was a part of that. I mean, I know growing up we could always see it deteriorating, and now the kids that are playing there, they have a place to play that's really nice. And just to see that, and people coming up to me and saying, wow, the gym looks really nice, people that I didn't even know, that's what really got me.
Chakowski, with help from friends and members of the community, spent over 600 hours on the project. Their work to restore the Lyceum displays how much this gym means to the people of Lawrenceville. People like McGrain, the Nars, Chakowski, and many others have put hour after hour into volunteering at the Lyceum. The community gives back from generation to generation.
But my feeling is someone was there for me to do that, so the least I can do is give back something to Mickey and them, that somebody younger, and I'm actually looking for younger people than myself as we pass through this transition to keep this going, to keep this alive, to keep mentors here, to keep good people talking to these kids and keeping them in the right direction.
The next generation will need to keep the tradition alive, and keeping the kids in the area active is important, and the Lyceum is vital to that idea. And the general consensus around Lawrenceville is that the neighborhood itself is heading in a positive direction.
It's really a place of history. It has a diversity of architecture, and I think that there's still a lot of people that see Lawrenceville from different perspectives and like the community.
There's a lot of hope in the area, I think, for change and for growth, and so there is a growing spirit of seeing something good happening.
Family-owned restaurants opening up, such as Tram's Kitchen on Penn Avenue. It's packed every night. Cure down on Butler Street is packed every night.
Well, I think the big thing I'm seeing now is that it really is developing as a neighborhood. In the past, it really had gone downhill, and there was a lot of difficulties in the area, with poverty and just kind of a general decline of the area. And it's only probably been in the last 10 years that there really has been an upswing.
It's just a strong family connection, plus people are very faith-oriented. And it's just everybody tries to help when there's problems, but everybody helps each other, and you pretty much know everybody that lives around you.
It has a great community spirit. I've noticed that people who grew up here are very dedicated to the neighborhood. They say, "Oh, I remember when," and they'll talk about the old days.
With the community rebuilding, Our Lady of the Angels pastor, Brother John Harvey, thinks the Catholic presence has been on the upswing in the neighborhood.
The presence of the church, I think, is very important here, and we're getting a lot more young people becoming part of the parish and having more baptisms, more marriages, and so I'm very hopeful that the parish is going to continue to grow as the area changes. And then the question would be, how does the Lyceum fit in with that? And I'm not sure. Well, it remains to be seen how things develop here in Lawrenceville to determine what the best needs are for the area.
St. Mary's Lyceum remains open in 2012, approaching its 100-year anniversary in 2013. With everything this neighborhood has been through, the Lyceum stands strong because of the people.
But it means so much to the people in Lawrenceville because it's like a meeting place for everything, sports related, plus with bingos and all the activities, the horse races and the fundraisers that go on here, and the dinners and the weddings, and it goes on, but people just remember. It's just one of them things that you hope never goes away, but you don't know how long you can keep it under the way the diocese is going now with closing things. You don't know what's going to happen, so we just take it 1 year at a time now.
No matter what game it is, even if it's a holiday tournament, you don't know anybody there playing, you'll know the people there because they come to just be at the Lyceum in the atmosphere.
This would be like when they tore down Forbes Field in Oakland. It's just like a shrine to people. This is something that you're always fighting to keep open. With the diocese changing so much, we don't know how many more years they're going to hold this thing.
1 year at a time, the Lyceum is sure to make it through another season as the 2012 holiday tournament is underway. As of 2011, there have been over 3,700 teams and 83,000 players who have paced the Lyceum hardwood since the tournament began in 1958.
God, we go one day at a time. Every time I come in here and I see all the pictures and the past winners of the tournament, I know we got at least one more year of the tournament.
The atmosphere of how it is, and the just how we have had so many tournaments here. I mean, I can't even tell you. They've started in 1958, I think, and they're still going in 2013. It's just people just keep coming back because it is such a memorable place, and everybody wants to say they played here.
With no school or parish teams, no one uses the gym as a home court anymore. However, the Lyceum still hosts 2 tournaments a year as teams from across the Pittsburgh area continue to participate, because it truly is a special atmosphere. McGrain knows the future of the Lyceum, like many diocesan buildings, is forever in question.
I think I think they know they have to keep it open. Otherwise, they've closed everything else. They have to try to keep this open. But eventually, we look for them to try, but we're ready for them if they do. But you know, we actually talked about even buying the building off of the parish and keeping it open as an independent.
With one church remaining and no school, the people of Lawrenceville still congregate at the building that means so much to them. To this point, the people of Lawrenceville, especially the Catholic community, have done their part in keeping the Lyceum up and running, especially people like Mickey McGrain. As for the future, this historic venue will not go down without a fight from the hard-working, passionate people of the community, keeping this icon alive.
So this building is just a hallmark of Lawrenceville.